All right, we are past our noon start time, so we're going to go ahead and start this meeting. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And our first item on the agenda is roll call. So if I could start with you, Harv.
I will do that. I was just signing in. I apologize for not paying attention. Harsh about the Coos downtown.
Jim Barron's Empire Community Coalition.
Leslie Terry, Patrick Terry's office.
Scott.
Scott Cooper, Alternative Youth Activity.
John Sweet, Coos County.
Nicole Rutherford, City of Coos Bay.
Christine Sylvester, City of Coos Bay.
All right, and then online, we have a couple of committee members.
We got Ryan Tuss.
Oh, there they are. Hello, Ryan. And then Laura.
Sig, she, her pronouns with Southern Oregon Coast Pride and the Equity Coalition.
All right, thank you for being here. We have a few guests, including our program for today. And so we will go ahead. Oh, I should probably say who I am. I'm Stephanie Kilmer. I am the co-chair of the Livability Committee for the City of Coos Bay and a Coos Bay City Councilor. Councilor Stevens was unable to attend today, but she will review this, so say something nice about her. All right, and our first item on the agenda today is the discussion with Luke Pike, who's the district manager for Waste Connections, on the implementation of the Oregon Recycling and Modernization Act. And do you want to give a little bit of background, Nicole, our city manager?
I can certainly give us a start. However, I'll just say that Luke has been like hand-holding me through all of this. The emails we get from this group are extensive. It's like a new language, but he's always right on top of it, both Luke and Dan. So they've helped the city kind of navigate so that we're ready once this is in full steam. So I think you're the expert in the room if you want to.
You want me to come up? For those of you who don't know, my name is Luke Pike. I'm the district manager with Waste Connections. So I've been in the industry my entire life. Since I was 19, actually, I was a driver picking up routes. So I grew up in the industry, I've known it from all sides. So, and this, how things evolve, this is just, something how the industry evolves, and we're going to work through it and grow. And there'll be some learning curves and some heartaches, and we'll work through it, and we'll survive. But Nicole is correct, and this whole process that we've gone through has been extensive. And when you get an email from these groups that we're changing, it takes you about 10 minutes to read or 20 minutes to read, so it's a lot. I do have a presentation that I'll just go through. It's low key, so if you have questions, ask, or you can wait till the end, and we can, more than happy to go through from there. So what's happening is the recycle in the state of Oregon is completely changing. It's being overhauled. So recycling actually started in the 1980s, and it does little changes. It grew a little bit, and then in 2019, China basically cut the United States off, and that put the whole United States in this whole whirlwind, what we do with recycle. In the state of Oregon, all the haulers and all the municipalities and the counties all went their own direction. And so what they found out that everybody did it a little bit different. And so the state of Oregon passed legislation back in actually 23, to bring everybody together and create basically one program for the entire state. And all the municipalities and counties all run the same program. So there's just streamlined, everybody does the same thing. If you have people that move from different communities, it's all going to be the same. So right now, if what we do here, if you go to Eugene, or if you go to Brookings, or if you go to Portland, it's completely different. And so now it will be all completely the same. So this is going to start July 1st of 2025. That does not mean this is going to be completely done July 1st of 2025. This is going to be years into the making. So why are things changing? I touched a little bit of it. There's real recycling, and they call it wish cycling. So wish cycling is you throw something in the bin, you hope it goes where it goes, or you have no idea. So if we can educate and teach everybody where these things go, get the things in the proper spots, that will help the whole system. Producers. So one of the things in this legislation is starting with the people that are producing the packaging. So if you look back of how things are recycled, you're always taught, oh, I can recycle if it has that little emblem on it. If it has the arrows on it, it can go in the recycle. That's never been the case. That's just what you were taught. Little to find out that mostly anything but ones and twos was going to a landfill somewhere at some point during when you got rid of it. Now people that are going to sell products in the state of Oregon will have to pay into a fund. They'll need to change their packaging to a plastics 1, 2, or 5, and they will have to pay into a fund that will help support this program. Better access. So part of this program also will get better access to people that don't have maybe curbside. So better dump off spots at depots. Easier for people to just bring it to a spot rather than have it at curbside. Education. That's going to be a huge one. Right now, education is somewhat minimal. We do our. We're regulated by a DEQ on how much education we do. We do that. We do, what we're supposed to. Can we do more? Probably we could do more. Everybody will have the same education material. It'll be supported by what the CAA, they call them the Circular Alliance Action. What they give us will be what we give to the communities, and it'll be statewide. And the system, built to improve. So this is a moving program, so it's just starting to. So this will allow us to do update, research, learn, change, evolve, and continue. All right, that's pretty fast. So what we do now. So right now, in Coos Bay, you put your recycle into an 18-gallon bin, and then it leaves your place and goes. And really, for most people, probably don't think much of it beyond that. And then down below, you can see that's what we currently take. So, cardboard, mixed paper, 1s and 2 plastics only, tin and aluminum. So where we're gonna go, so currently you're in an 18-gallon bin. It's gonna go to a 96-gallon roll cart. And everybody in the city will get the same size cart, and it will be picked up every other week instead of weekly. You'll have more space. We'll have to work with individuals on. It's a bigger cart. We understand that, and we'll have to work with people on how we can maneuver that and what we can do. But I've been through a couple of these programs, and it just takes time to get everybody there, but we'll get everybody there. But you'll need a 96-gallon in order to accept more of the material. So what's changing? So this is some of the items that are going to be allowed in the curbside commingle going forward, actually a lot of this is going to start July 1st. Small metals, pots and pans, things like that can go in. Anything less than 10 pounds can go in your cart. This is new for all of us. I never thought we'd get to the day where we can accept that kind of metal in the commingle, but that's where we're headed. I'm a little worried about what it's going to do to our trucks, but we'll see what happens. Plastic tubs is a big one. Your planter tubs, those black plastic tubs, those are always been questioned. Do we throw these away or can they be recycled? Well, they can be recycled, so that'll be a big one. A lot of it's still the same, though. The other big change is was, you know, those cartons, egg cartons, juice boxes. For years, people didn't know whether those are actually recyclable or not. If they had the waxy film on them, they were like, "Oh, these are trash." They're gonna be recycled. The other big addition is the plastic number 5. So you really will look on your containers. If you see 1, 2, or 5, you know that's going to be recyclable, and that can go in. If it says any other number, that needs to go into the trash. Pizza boxes. I did want to touch on pizza boxes. That's kind of been something in our industry that people have kind of didn't understand. You know, the recyclable, you want it to be clean, and you know, clean the cans out, clean the jugs out before, and then recycle it. But what do you do with the pizza box that has, you know, it's full of grease and all that? And so they really don't want grease-soaked pizza boxes. If it's somewhat, that's okay. And I don't know how we're ever going to manage that, and probably not going to be able to. But generally, the pizza boxes are okay to put in the recycle. But if it is completely greased and cheese and all that, just throw it in the trash. Let's see here. There we go. So what's not included? So a lot of this is not really changing. Curbside, no plastic bags, no garbage bags, no, the little grocery bags. That's all. A lot do end up in there now. That's something we'll have to work through with the contamination program, but there's really no place. When it gets mixed in with anything, it's so hard to get out of it. Batteries are a big one. Batteries cause fire in the commingle. We lose transfer stations all over the United States because of fire just from batteries. And the lithium ion batteries, like from a drill, that's actually one of the worst and what we see the most of. And why people think that's recyclable, I don't know, but they do. And it goes in and we can't get it out. They're only like this big. And instantly it catches a fire, and then you're in the commingle, which is mostly paper, cardboard, and it goes up like that. So it's really something we want to keep out. No food, obviously. Keep it as clean as possible is the best. Hoses, cords, that's a big one. It's again, I don't know why people think hoses and cords are recyclable, but it's really a common item that goes in, and it really messes up the machines and stuff during the process of recycle. So for the most part, the contaminations really isn't changing. At depots, there will be some changes at depots. Those plastic bags, the grocery bags, those will be accepted at a depot for recycle. So when it's separate, we can combine it and contain it and make a product that can be recycled. But it gets mixed in with everything, it's really hard to separate. That's why. So at depots, we'll be able to accept that. Styrofoam, it sounds like we'll be able to accept that as well. Not in the curbside, but at a depot. So we are updating West Coast Transfer here and down. We're working through some plans right now over the next couple of years. That facility will get updated, and this will be in that thought, how we navigate traffic flow and all that with the increased recycle and increased products that we need to take. It's all going to be figured in. Where does it all go? And that's always the magic question. And, a lot of people think, oh, recycling's not real. It ends up in a landfill. And, honestly, sometimes it does. Things get contaminated along the process, or, things change, and some of it was going to landfill. One of the big points of this whole statewide program is to keep it from going that direction. And we're highly regulated that it doesn't. So just so you know. So, currently, and most of the material going forward is going to go to the same facility in the same way. So metal currently right now goes to Pacific Recycling in Eugene. They'll take it, melt it down, or ship it to Portland, where it gets melted down and remade into, car parts, beams, and things like that. All the plastic that we collect in Coos County goes to Pioneer Recycling in Portland, and from then they branch out. Most of it's domestically is right now. That's what changed in 2019. A lot of the plastics and stuff went overseas. Well, now there's there's mills that can take the material in the United States. So from Pioneer will separate all the cardboard, paper, all the material gets separate by plastic 1, 2s, and 5s, and then they ship it to market, and it can go all over. And some of it still will go, overseas to Indonesia and Taiwan. Some of it still will, but a lot of it's going to stay domestic. The cardboard we take to Eugene or Toledo. There's a mill there. It takes the cardboard, and all cardboard gets remade into new cardboard. So who's paying for all this? So this was the big change. How we move forward, obviously there's always a cost, right? And we don't want necessarily for the community to have to pay. If I tell you, hey, you can do this, but it's going to cost you, another few dollars or $10 a month more, would you do it? And a lot of people, unfortunately, be like, if it's cheaper for me just to throw it away, I'll just throw it away. So that was a big challenge. So we created the producer responsibility organization. So that's the companies that are selling products in the state of Oregon will now pay into a fund that will help fund this whole program. So what the fund does, if you can see, it's for the collection of it, the education, and transportation. Those are the three main items that the funding will cover. For the collection portion, we will need to roll out all these carts to the whole community, and that's thousands and thousands of dollars. So also trucks, we don't have the trucks to be able to pick up this whole new program, so it's going to fund that as well. So roughly for Coos Bay Sanitary, which is Dan and us, we're looking at probably between the both of us, probably this program is going to be at least 2 to 3 trucks probably, and thousands of carts. So, but that buying that won't fall back on the residents. So that's the whole idea behind it. And the education to the community, they will pay for that. We'll have to, get the education and disperse it, but the cost of that education material will be covered by this fund, and transportation. So transportation, not transportation from the houses to a transfer site, but the transportation from a depot like West Coast Transfer to an endpoint, so to Portland. That will be funded by this program. So this whole thing works only if we all do our part, and that's one of the challenges is, right, you have everybody going different directions. You got to get everybody going the same direction. So that's really our goal and the challenge. So we need the producers to produce the right packaging and then pay into the fund that will fund this whole program. We need the customers to know what to put into the bin and put it and do it correctly. And then we need the haulers, our company, to pick it up the right way, sort it, get it into the right spot, and get it to the right markets. So we need everybody to be on the same page. And that's ultimately the ultimate, that's been a challenge in the past, but now we have a roadmap, and that's the whole idea. Some outreach, so that's an example of an actual piece of education material that will potentially come out sometime July through September is our goal. And it's pictures, something easy to read, easy. People really, if you just give them a page of recycling tips and it's just all words, that's going to get looked at for a half a second and it's going to get put back in the recycle. If we do pictures, hopefully the idea behind that is people can see it. It's a mental note. You know, maybe they can put it on their fridge, but they'll see it and it gets into your mind. Words will just leave, you know. And really, thanks for the time that I could be here today. I'm here for any questions. This is all new to me, and still learning. So, and this this is going to change, and it's going to change again. It's going to change again, but you know, we're excited. It's going to be good for the state of Oregon, and it's going to be good for all the residents too.
So we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Does anybody have anything they'd like? You do. Just feel free to open your mic up and ask the question.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of excited about the opportunities. I grew up in the salvage business. I love the idea that they're getting the producers to, but where you may see problems, I see opportunities. Particularly because I deal with the youth, and they're way more excited than us, older generation.
Yep.
They just see it as part of their commitment to the planet. In the process, you're going to need sorters, and not just machine sorters, but hand sorters. Opportunity, and I know we're not there yet. It's a slow rollout right now. As well as the outreach and the education in the community. Another opportunity for youth to teach other youth, which will affect us 20 years down the road. I mean, it'll just be part of their lives. It's already become part of our lives. We all know about recycling. And just looking, we're all a little bit older here.
It really is about starting young. You know, if that's all they know, then it starts them on the right path, and that they stay on that path. You know, when we work, we do some stuff with the schools and things like that, and within all of Waste Connections, and you start with the kindergartners, you know, and then they go back and take it home with them, and they yell at their mom and dad for doing it wrong, you know, and that's all they know, and that's where we should start.
Yeah, so how do we tap into try to walk alongside of what's happening and make that change? I wish Sarah was here because of workforce development. It seems to make sense on that end as well. I don't know how to bring the conversation to the next action plan. I mean, I love the conversation. I love that you just educated us. But now where's the action?
Yeah, and that's the follow through, right? We can't start this process and then just stalemate it. So, you know, for that point would be, you know, how do we get the school? We need to get the schools involved, and you know, maybe we can come to the schools and give a presentation, or you know, April is Earth Day, right? It's always that month is April is a real focus on that. So maybe that's a great time to say, okay, that's when we do our education, or even more than that. Why do we just do it once a year? Why don't we do it more than that?
No, we can tap into the schools, and I think it doesn't need us older people. We need kids to tap into the school and present it. They'll get buy-in that way. So, and I took a bunch of notes here, but and I don't know if there's an organization at the state level that I try to get a hold of, or if I try to work at my regional level, which would be you, to get that outreach moving and into the schools.
So I know that could be something we work with, the CAA, the Circular Action. They're in charge of all the education. So that might already be on their agenda. I don't know that answer, but that's something that maybe we need to reach out to them. The CAA is an organization that works between us, as in like the city and the hauler, and the DEQ and the state. So they're kind of running it for the state, and they're in charge of the education part of it. So that probably is who we need to reach out to.
We'll talk more offline.
Okay, that's fine.
Time here.
It's very interesting because it has been a rollout. I mean, my kids are all adults now, and have kids of their own, and this is something that as kindergartners, like you said, they did holler at me a lot. But
well, and I think the education part is going to be very critical to this, because I'm looking at it from our businesses right now. Most of them are spooked by anything that comes that's new, and it's coming with kind of a governmental push behind it.
Sure.
So As I look at this, though, I don't see a whole bunch that's really onerous as far as businesses are concerned.
No,
If anything, it's relatively positive, but the education piece will be important.
Well, it seems kind of like it ultimately falls on the collector.
A lot of it does,
As
yeah.
far as even, whether or not it can be recycled, if it needs to go into the garbage. But my question is more broad, because Waste Connections has operations throughout the country.
Sure.
So how does Oregon compare to other places? You can be candid.
I will.
Is this
I will.
going to be difficult, or is this something that you see as an opportunity in other
This
states?
is the first of many in the United States. That's how I see it. So the state of Oregon is going out first, which, the Northwest in recycling has been around for many, many, many years. And if you were to go east, that's not the case. There's still a lot of places in the Midwest that don't recycle at all today. And it's kind of a mind blowing if you've lived your whole life on the Northwest and to go east, where the East was established in a lot of ways, first obviously, but not in this market. So as far as our other areas, this is going to be unique. It's going to set the map, I guess, for everybody else, is how they're kind of seeing it. We recycle, with Waste Connections, all over. But it's, like I said, it's all different. The state of California they have a whole different process. And when you have people from California that move to Oregon, it is a real challenge to get them to recycle the way that Oregon does. I had a great conversation. I say great, it was a little bit heated, honestly, but because the gentleman was throwing dirty diapers into the recycle. And I'm like, it's not even close to a recyclable product. Like, how would you take that and make that into a new diaper? You can't. And he was really adamant that in the state of California, that's what they do. And he's not wrong. People do put it in there. But in the state of California, a lot of places will take all that material, it goes to one place, and then they have sorters that go through the trash and they pull that stuff out. It doesn't actually go, it goes to a landfill, but he thought he was actually recycling it. So it's, the state of Oregon will take that problem out. This is what the program is, and they're hoping that it will spread to the other states.
Mm-hmm. And is it costly to the company? Because obviously, you talked about the containers that you're going to have to put at every home that has service, and the trucks, but you're going to have personnel that make sure that what's going out to EcoSort and Pioneer and Pacific is actually recyclable.
So locally, here at Coos Bay, we won't have to build like a sort facility because the facilities are reasonably close. We can ship that to the material that can sell it out to market. But it will be costly to, the funding that comes in does not cover, increased employees. It doesn't cover your maintaining of the program. So you might get new carts and new trucks, and you get it one time only. So over the next 20 years, the carts don't last forever. They have a 10-year lifespan, which I can tell you right now, most of them don't last 10 years either. So that attrition of the carts has to be, that's all on the companies.
So eventually, does this get passed on to the consumer?
To
At
be
some
honest,
point.
Some of it's going to be, the company's going to eat some of it's going to get passed on to the consumer. There's also, I've been asked to, and I don't know how to answer it, but there's also the question of, okay, these companies, these producers that have to make the new products a certain way and then also have to pay into a fund, are these companies that have to do this now, are they just taking a hit on their product, or are they going to increase their, which ultimately, where does that go? So, I mean, I don't know how to answer that one. I think I know the answer, you know, but no one's really ever came out and said, like, what's really going to happen. So, but there is the responsibility is where, you know, producers never had a responsibility of changing their packaging. They could just make a product and sell it in the state of Oregon, and that thing is going to go straight to the landfill. Well, now that won't be able to happen.
So there is a mechanism.
Yeah.
Do we have other questions? Anybody online?
I have a couple.
Sure.
And that slightly different vantage point in some respects because of the county's involvement.
Yep.
But one is, how is the money that's collected by the state from these producer responsibility organizations allocated out to the counties, to the, I don't know to whom it goes?
Yeah, I mean, the you know, Coos County is same as, you know, and, you know, with Beaver Hill and in our company and Dan's company, Coos Bay Sanitary. So there was a funding that contract allows the CAA to collect. The state will produce the money. From what I know, this is only from what I know, and it might change. Then they will direct payment. You could do it two ways, and you have to just tell them which way. They can direct pay, like say, hey, we're going to buy a truck. We need this truck. They will pay that manufacturer, whoever's the truck is, or they will pay us for that truck, and we have to turn around and buy that truck. Those are the two different ways of doing it, and we're not there at that point yet. But from what I do understand, it's just like a communication part. There's a contract that they're working on right now. They don't have the contract built yet, but there's supposedly a contract that they're going to make that will state which direction that you go, and you have to work through that. And then you have to report back to the state on where the money was allocated to and how much it was and where it went.
Then, so that's kind of, you just, if you have a cost, you'll just apply to the state to get it covered? They won't distribute a certain amount?
No, they're supposed to distribute. So how I understand this to work, if you're going to buy carts, so it's our responsibility to get the quotes for the carts, and then we would submit that to them, like this is how many carts we need to do Coos Bay, and this is the cost, and then it's their responsibility to provide the funds for that.
So all of the recyclables that are allowed, you gotta put diapers on the no list.
I barely should. You wouldn't think you'd have to, but we probably do need to.
People go a long ways to avoid being charged for garbage.
You're not wrong. You know that better than anyone.
So, probably
Sure.
better.
Yes.
So everything goes, all the recyclables go into a 96-gallon bin. There's a room in my garage for that bin.
That's so. I know.
We have to park
I
the
know.
car outside.
Yep.
And then, in our case, it would come to either your transfer station or the county's transfer station and be put into what?
That's a good question too, and we don't have that answer yet. So,
They told me this was going to be simple.
I know it's not simple.
I was in on.
It's supposed to
but
be
I
simple.
got so frustrated. I said, "You guys can't get this done."
This is 4 years ago.
Yeah,
And they haven't done yet.
and we haven't done it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, and they haven't got it.
That's
done
a
yet.
good thing you brought up though. So time frame, right? So
Yeah,
this
that's what I was gonna comment on. When we first started this was
Yeah.
a July 1 rollout.
this was a July
And
1.
we had a conversation around, all these organizations are gonna have to buy trucks. That means all the truck manufacturers are gonna have to be building all of these trucks. What are we doing right now to get that in play? 'Cause
So if I were to call today and I want and buy a garbage truck, I will get that truck a year from now. I mean, that's best case scenario if I'm lucky. So Coos Bay is a priority A, and in Coos County we have 3 priority A communities. We have Coos Bay, North Bend, and Coke Hill are all priority A community. And there's 12 priority A's in the state of Oregon. So what does that mean? That means those are 12 communities in the state are going to be focused on first, and then they're going to go to priority B, C, D down the line. So a priority A timeline is roughly 2 to 3 years, because they need to change the producers right now, and then they're going to start paying. So producers will start paying into the fund July 1st. So money's going to start getting collected July 1st. Now, that doesn't mean July 1st, all of a sudden there's, money there to use. So that's going to start the process. And then you have the time to, get the carts, the trucks, to roll out the program. You can't roll out a program until you have the trucks. So it's all about a timing thing. You can't roll out a program either without educating people first. So there's going to be education. We'll need to get the trucks, we'll need to get the carts, and then we can do a rollout. So and I don't know how this is going to work with the 12 communities going first. I don't know who's number 1. I have no idea. So someone's going to have to be one. Hopefully it's us. That would be awesome. And maybe the first community that gets to go, maybe they're done in late 26. They tell you right now, nothing's happened in 25. There's no way. But maybe sometime in 26, but probably more like 2027 for a rollout. It'd be safe to say.
So this 96-gallon container is going to be dumped into a collector truck. And now where are you going to, when that empties itself, what does it empty itself into?
So it'll empty into a building, which we currently have, now, when that's part of we're going to change our facility. We need to update that facility anyway, so that's what we're going to work to. It's going to get dumped on the concrete floor in a building covered. That you're regulated, you have to do that. What we don't know is the process. What are we going to do from there? Are we going to bale it? So we can make a couple options. We get a baler, just a ballpark baler is going to cost anywhere between, small one's $300,000. A larger one is about $500,000. So we'll have to get a baler or a compactor, and that's simply just to transport. So if we were just transporting 50 miles down the road to a commingle facility or 10 miles, that's one thing. But we're not. The market's got to go to Portland in order to get it out. It's got to go to a larger facility that will sort it and distribute it to all the many different markets all over the world.
You said metals go?
Metals currently right now go to Eugene or Portland. We dabble in both.
Other things go to Eugene, and cardboard goes to Toledo.
Most of the cardboard that comes from here ends up in Toledo, where they just make new cardboard out of
But it's
Georgia.
all going to be intermingled in these 96-gallon cans and then into the collector trucks. And where is it unmingled?
That's a new word. Unmingled would be in Portland.
So essentially, everything will have to go to Portland.
Yeah, everything inevitably in the whole state will end up in the Portland area.
Traffic from here to Portland.
Mm-hmm.
But you said Eugene.
Well, Eugene there's EcoSort and Pacific Recycling. EcoSort's just like EcoSort sorts a lot of like demo material, but they also take a lot of commingle, and they will pull cardboard out of the commingle and goes to Toledo, and then their paper will go to Pioneer. EcoSort's kind of a Eugene area. It's a Waste Connections company, but it's kind of a staging area. It's like a middle of the ground. They can pull some of the stuff, and then it goes to Toledo, and then the rest goes to Portland. Or you can just ship it straight to Portland. So right now, as we see, we currently top load trailers, 53-foot trailers, and get as much in there we can, and now it's going straight to Pioneer.
So in a sense, this new rollout is actually financially better for the company, because recycling was on you prior to getting it sorting it?
Well, the
There
idea
is
behind all this
some
is
funding.
not to, the hauler is, it is looked at to, you know, you're supposed to be, you know, it's not an even thing. You're not to be making money off of this, but you're also not to be losing money at it. So that's gonna be the balancing act. Like, okay, we're gonna have to add employees. We're gonna have to add or maintenance, you know, we're gonna get new trucks, but we're gonna have to maintain these things over the next 10 to 15 years. So you're gonna have added costs that this program's doing, but the idea is it's supposed to be a balance. So the program's not looked at, hey, we're taking all this, we're gonna pay the haulers now for all the recycle, they're gonna make a ton of money. That's not what it's
No,
made
but you
about.
were actually doing it at a loss, recycling at
Oh,
a loss.
recycle has been a loss for 20 years. You know, back when it first started in the 80s and 90s, I mean, honestly, I mean, commingle, you could turn a load of commingle and they would actually pay you, you know, $90 a ton to get rid of it. Those days, that was like the early 90s. It has been, you know, it's a disposal cost, you know, ever since.
Right, Laura, sorry. Go ahead.
The question is more, and I'm like kind of in a brain fog of a cold right now, so forgive me if I missed this information. But I'm trying to grapple with what our role as a Livability Committee is going to be moving forward. I know we talked a little bit about education, but I'm also hearing like timelines and in real world when the rubber hits the road, like this won't be up and running functionally until like 2-ish years from now. And so I'm just kind of two pointed questions. What is our role? And then what is the timeline that makes sense for starting that education? Because I'd hate to tell people you can put all the things in the carts, but that's not actually true for yet another year, you know?
I will leave your guys' role. I mean, we can talk about that. But as far as the material, honestly, that material part changes July 1st. So as of July 1st, there's going to be some education going out to all the residents. And plastics 1, 2, and 5 are going to be accepted. You know, we won't be pulling it out of the stream. The only thing is the challenge is you're not going to have an increased bin where you can increase the material. So this should be a little bit of a challenge on our part. But the material that is set by the RMA, the Recycle Modernization Act, is supposed to start July 1st of 25. So we will have to abide by that.
So, Laura, to your question about what's the role, I think our role right now is the initial, this has been in process, and July 1, this process goes into effect. This is kind of the first line of, well, one of the many first lines of communicating to the public that there is a change coming. So it's part of that. It is, in its way, part of that education.
And the CAA is going to be helping to kind of craft that so that it's across the state the same, but it hits on us governments to make sure that we are communicating that out. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what I can see, like getting it out to the community, you know, the material will come to us. You know, maybe we, you know, get it in front of you guys and we find out the best way to get it out to the community.
Yeah, well, and that was the other thing that came up at the last meeting, was a good conversation about some ideas about how we can help craft maybe some things that will help with that, because this is, you know, a livability issue when you think about how much garbage is produced by an individual, and then where it goes once it's there. So, and how do we as citizens affect what the municipalities have to do, the county, you know, everybody that's affected by it. So it definitely is a good place to be to have this conversation. And maybe there's some ideas that this committee can come up with to assist with that. We have the Downtown Association represented here, the Empire Community Coalition, business community, and nonprofit organizations represented on this committee that have access to a large number of people.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably not relative to our concerns, but it seems to me that trying to find a producer responsibility organization to take care of a multitude of recycling products in there's some little tiny town in eastern Oregon is going to be a tough job, which means they won't be able to buy a lot of stuff at their local store. Maybe.
No, they'll be part of it. It's
But how's a pro organization going to
fund
get
that.
something from Jasper, Oregon, or whatever the hell?
So they're the folks who are putting products together, and they are going to be given the option to choose their packaging.
Yeah. So they have to.
Yeah, and
Well,
they
how
can
it's
choose
supposed
not
to work, you won't
They
be able
can
to
choose
sell
not
your
to, but
product.
They will pay a different
Yeah,
fee
you-
Or they
for.
could choose not to provide Oregon with those
Well,
products.
that's
That's
part of
my
it too.
concern.
They could say, I'm not. They could say, okay, I'm not going to sell my product in the state of Oregon anymore. That could happen.
I was assured it would not, but I believe it would.
Well, that's what we come back to, like, ultimately what happens, If you're going to tell me I have to pay into this fund to sell my product, which is going to cost me more money.
Stick up one finger.
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, I think you and I are going to go to the store and that can of soda is not going to be the same price. I don't know that.
Sometimes the cart before the horse doesn't always work in our favor. Oregon is notorious for trying to be out front on these things,
Yeah.
but really having a region of states or a national thing would have been much better than having one state roll it out and 50 others have to follow.
Yeah.
But
I do know the CAA, who is, working obviously with the state of Oregon. They are working with a couple other states, so this is, it's actively working in some of the other states too.
So I think what should, could, and what is, here we are, we're sitting here, and this is what's happening. So taking control of the conversation ahead of time, because I can see the little words, it's going to cost consumers this amount of money, and it's spinning out of control, rather than a committee like ours to get a grassroots conversation started about what an incredible opportunity this could be if we choose to do this. So getting out in front of the spin, I think, is going to be really important, and that's something that the Livability Committee can do at a very low grassroots without sponsoring or politically getting involved, but just kind of showing the positives of it before the negatives take control of the conversation.
Hey, I mean, the end game here, right, is a positive. I mean, it is better for everybody involved, really, at the end of it. And how we get there, I don't, it's going to be a rocky road, right? But
Well, I just have to say that we are very fortunate that your organization, Dan's, are working in this community. You are the reason why we are a level A or whatever it is they're calling us, to start this work now instead of waiting, because I think the next 12 is uncertain, because I think this
Right.
first 12 is going to be really difficult. So I just
completely
appreciate you kind of stepping up and helping the city get to this point.
appreciate it, yeah. And we'll, we have a great relationship, with the city and the county, and we'll continue to work through it. And I basically just want everybody to know that we're learning as we're going to. And so there's going to be hiccups, but, we'll work through it. And, like Commissioner Sweet said, I'm going to have this 96-gallon cart. What do I do with this thing in my garage that's full of, and that's, you're not wrong. It's one of a big challenge that we'll have to work with all the residents. And all this that we've talked about, we haven't even talked about, multifamily, apartment complexes. It's going to change that too. And then, and then it'll get into the commercial side and in the businesses. That's going to come too. That's not going to come first. The first part is focusing on residential, but that's all going to come too.
That big garbage can is going to be awfully heavy for my wife.
It's
back up
got
to the
wheels
street.
on it. It's got
It'll
wheels.
have wheels.
Oh, good. I'll tell her that. I don't think she'll do it. I know who's going to get to do that.
You have an opportunity.
Can you help me to understand this a little bit? The idea came down, it got funded by this pro, and now it's being put on your shoulder to roll it out somehow, and you're representing the public because it all transfers through your place.
Yeah, so we had the choice, essentially the role for this was state to local government. And if we did not have good relationships with these folks, we would be managing that whole program. We would be getting those dollars and figuring out how we're going to do it, and they're going to step up and take that part of the role for us. So yeah, it was very convoluted the first time that I saw this come through.
Yeah, I get the thank you now, and I can see it from your point of view, that transfer station and large buildings with roofs, sorting. We're not talking sorting, we're talking just shipping.
It's
We're not
a
even
lot
gonna
of ship
sort
from
it.
our area, being on the coast. There's, it's you got to ship it all out to, somewhere else to get it sorted. The problem, and somebody might ask this question too, is why don't we have a sorting facility on the coast? And the problem is just the material. So, we can't generate enough material to make a sorting facility sustainable. There's just not enough material. There is, it's in Portland. That's where the big one, everything from the state basically will end up. There's little facilities and transfer stations all over the state of Oregon, but inevitably all that material is going to end up in Portland, and that's where the real magic happens and where it goes out. There's just not enough material in our area to get a sort line and then get it from here, get it to a product that can, sell it to, who knows, someone back east or whatever to make a new product out of it. We just don't have enough material to make that viable.
Where do we deal with contamination? I mean, there's still going to be the guy that put in his diapers, where he can, it's depending on his age, in the recyclables instead of the garbage.
So
They didn't have to pay for that.
part of this is we'll have to create a contamination program, and how that will probably more than likely work is these trucks will have cameras in the hoppers, okay? We'll dump a can, and then if we see something in there right then, that can will be tagged. And so right now, I'm affiliated with some communities that already do cart recycling, and we have to do that too as a contamination program. So it's how we do it there is like a 3-strike rule. So you contaminate once, you get educated, and you're made aware of what not to put in there. We'll give you education material, and then we continue on. And if you do it again within a 1-year period, then you get it educated again, and you'll get charged for dumping as trash. And then if that happens again a 3rd time, we pull your cart and you don't get to recycle anymore.
I can assure you, it's always going to be the neighbor.
It's always the neighbor. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to end this because our meeting time is coming to an end, but I was going to say probably the biggest thing that we could take away that we have today is, start now, because there are places that you go that have garbage and recycling. And I've done it myself accidentally through a recyclable soda can into a garbage can, or the other, yeah, that way. Just make sure that you're using the right cart when you're dumping whatever you have in your hand. If it's garbage, put it in the garbage, and if it's recyclable, then make sure you're putting it in the right bin. And that's probably going to be the toughest thing that you face, whether or not it's, I don't care, it's just a receptacle or I accidentally made a mistake. You have to kind of think differently now. And then, once that happens, make sure, because we don't want it to end up in the county forest or, John Toppett's Park or something like that. So, but I really appreciate the information and hope that this committee can do what it can to help assist get the word out. And then we'll take it from there.
Sounds great. I mean, it's all communication. So as things come, I think Nicole and I communicate really well. When things come in, she's pretty like, "Hey, what's going on with this?"
I don't know what this says. Can you help me?
But that starts the if we keep talking, then we'll keep moving ahead.
I hope that you'll be able to come to a council meeting as well and
Yeah, we can
communicate that.
certainly get that on a work session maybe coming up.
Yeah, we can do that too,
All
for
right.
sure.
Is there any other business to come before the Livability Committee? Then I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for coming to our guests.